Aloha gang, and welcome back to chapter 2 of the 2022 PUB17 filing statuses. There are 5 different filing statuses: single, married filing joint, married filing separately, head of household, and qualifying surviving spouse, which is changed from qualifying widow or widower. Okay, talking about the first one, the single filing status. You can claim this if you are an unmarried person. So you were not married on the last day of the year, December 31st, you may be considered single. Okay? If you are legally separated from your spouse under a divorce decree or a separation decree, you are considered unmarried. If you are divorced by the last day of the year, you are considered divorced and unmarried for the entire year. Okay? So that is a single filing status. The next filing status is married filing jointly. This is normally the best filing status and has the least taxes. If a spouse dies during the year, you may choose to be married filing jointly for that year. And of course, you are married all year long if you are married by the last day of the year, December 31st. The other filing status, if you are married, is married filing separately. This is generally the worst of all filing statuses for tax implications. Okay, if you are married and you don't file a joint return, you may have to file separately, unless you can be considered unmarried, which we'll be talking about in just a minute. Okay, when you file married filing separately, I always suggest going back to the PUB17 and reviewing the specialized rules, because there are many rules, and here are just some of them that I know off the top of my head. You do not get earned income credit. You will not get the American Opportunity Tax Credit. If you have capital losses, they're going to be half of what you can take. Instead of getting the $3,000 loss, you'll be limited to $1,500. The main one that I always have to check is if your spouse is filing separately and they itemize, then you both must itemize. So if you're both taking the standard deduction and filing separately, you can do that. But if one person itemizes, you both must itemize. And so that one's a tricky one that gets a lot of people. So that's married filing separately. Again, normally the worst filing status for taxes. You may want to choose it for other reasons, but for tax implications, it's generally the worst. Then you have your head of household. To claim head of household, you must be unmarried or considered unmarried. You are considered unmarried if all of the things are true. You file a separate return. You've paid more than half of the cost of the upkeep of a home. The spouse did not live with you for the last 6 months of the year. The home was the main home of a qualifying person, and you must be able to claim the qualifying person. Okay, so that is what you have to do to be considered unmarried. If you meet all of those things and you've paid more than the half of upkeep of a home and have a qualifying child that lived with you for more than half the year, you can be considered head of household. So that was quite a complicated little set of instructions that you have to follow. Review Table 2-1 to determine if you can qualify as being head of household. Then the final filing status is qualified surviving spouse. This is the filing status for anyone whose spouse has passed more than a year ago. So, to file as qualifying surviving spouse, you will have had to have been eligible to file a joint return for the year they passed, but you did not have to file jointly. The spouse must have died 2 years ago or less, and you have not remarried. You have a child that you claim as a dependent. This is one of the reasons that most elderly seniors don't file as a surviving spouse. And the final one is you have to have paid more than half the cost of upkeep of a home. So those are the 5 filing statuses. Single, married filing joint, that's the best one. Married filing separate, that's the worst. Head of household, and qualifying surviving spouse. As always, this episode was sponsored by Hank's Tax Service. Give us a call at 808-853-1170. Aloha. Bye-bye.